Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. As promised, we are going to give a little bit of a refresh on this edge class. So we talked. We're going to talk about 6 of the top names of this edge class and kind of sort them out a little bit here. James and I are. James, I'll let you speak to it, but this class does not move me.
I've watched this edge class extensively. It's the position group that I've watched the most in depth so far this year because I've charted their moves, 29 of them. If you want to visit my draft board, you can see that in the pass rush move section. But anyways, all that's to say that outside of Ruben Bane, there's not really, I think, a bona fide plus starter in both phases that stands out. There are guys that I think can rush the passer at a high level, defend the run at a high level, but Bane is the one that I think I feel really good about being able to do both.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably the place to start this conversation. For a while there, it didn't look like any player in the country was playing better football than Ruben Bane. I do think that he had another strong game against Stanford, but he had like a 2-game stretch there where it was a little bit like, oh, this is you return to earth a little bit. But Ruben Bain playing some really solid football here.
And
I also
I will say in Ruben Bane's defense that the games where he came back down to earth, like the Louisville game, it wasn't his most productive game, but if you look at it from like a win rate and an efficiency standpoint, it was really good. He just had like I think 4 pressures, 0 sacks. So normally what happens on tape in those cases, and that's what happened with Ruben Bain, is that there were a bunch of cut blocks, there were a bunch of screens, quick passes where maybe he had an opportunity to win, and a lot of times he did, but he didn't even have time to get a pressure because the ball was out so quickly. And so that's the result of teams sort of scheming around Ruben Bain, and it's why if you pull him up on ESPN, he doesn't have a very impressive sack total. But then if you pull him up on like PFF, pass rush win rate, pressures, any of the like more in-depth metrics, he's going to rank really highly.
yeah, he's honestly him and maybe another half of a player are the only ones I felt good about. Like, yeah, this is a 3-phase player. Like, this is a 2-phase player. He can play both the run and the pass. I honestly think I'm coming to the point where I might be preferring my edge rushers to be kind of built like Bane, a little bit stockier, even with obviously a little bit more length would be better. But like, I think his arm length fits his frame well, and that's to say that like you don't see the length becoming an issue when he's setting an edge or when he's stack peek shedding, anything like that.
No.
Again, he's even physical enough to throw a hump move every once in a while in there. And again, that's a pass rush plan to know like I can set up outside and just let momentum carry this guy, and I'm strong enough to let that happen. I said obviously the club rip is his go-to. He loves the club rip there. But again, as both a pass rusher and a run defender, I feel good about Bane. I will say I still have questions about the athletic ceiling of Bane. Like, I think the short area explosiveness and the short area twitch and quickness is there. I think I noticed some things in like backside pursuit or when that alley opened up to the quarterback about how quickly he could get to point A and point B and close that gap up, if that makes sense as well.
Yeah.
So
And
like,
that bears out with the tracking data. Like his average get off yards is 90th percentile. But his top speed is 44th percentile
yeah,
for edge rushers.
that adds up for me based on what I saw on tape. But again, heaviest hands of any of these guys I watched. Most refined pass rush plan. Again, he didn't really hit a counter. I didn't really see a counter from any of these guys. But I think he does a good job of using his lower half to set up his upper half in his pass rush as well, which
And
is fairly rare.
um draw the distinction between like what you're talking about with counter and what a lot of people might think of with like an inside spin or something as like a counter.
So I would classify an inside spin as a counter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, if he hits a club rip, but he doesn't quite isn't quite able to turn the corner, I don't see a lot of reps continuing on. Like
I got you.
I think
Right.
they just kind of stall out. They
Yeah,
kind of go.
that's what I was more thinking. Like, because
Yeah.
when I say counter, I say it like your first move literally doesn't work,
Yeah.
and then you're able to find like a secondary rush effort, as opposed to like you're faking, one move and then
Yeah.
countering to another thing, which like calling both of those a counter is valid, but like I use counter in the first way a lot more. But
For
I
sure.
would
Me
I would
too.
agree with you, and I think part of that's the result of his first move winning at such a high rate
Hmm.
that you don't see him in as many tied up situations as a lot of these guys where, yeah, there's like no counter plan.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like a lot of these guys will run the arc, and then a quarterback will try to scramble out their way, and like the counter there is they will just like, oh, I'm just going to get back upfield and tackle the guy around his ankles. I don't really see that as a counter either.
Yeah, get like a negative 1 yard sack.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Ty Simpson had like Caden Proctor gave up one of those last week, this early, like early this week as well. Um, where like he ran the arc with the guy, but then couldn't recover or redirect, and then the defender was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna run back upfield then and get the sack.
yeah,
But all I have to say, like the versatility from Bane is there. Again, 3 down player. He can kick inside a little bit. You can condense him a little bit. Although I do think his best work is probably on the edge. Um, but some of the athletic ceilings, and then like, can we throw a counter every once in a while? Is kind of where I'm at with Bane.
would you consider like a hump move a counter?
Um, Yeah, depending on the circumstance, yes. I would also consider like a hump move a primary because I
Yeah,
think most hump moves are pretty intentional. Of like I'm going to set up wide, but I have my inside arm still free to
yeah.
lever back inside.
And
Um,
I think there's also a something to be said for not putting yourself in positions where you have to use a counter because you're
mhm.
choosing your primary move based on the tackle's set and his technique. So like you're recognizing when he's opening the gate too early and
Yeah,
already planning, okay, I'm going inside here, as opposed to like pre-snap. I'm like, all right, cross chop, and you do that regardless of what the tackle does. So, and I think Ruben Bain is really good at that, at reading his
mhm.
opponent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that as well. So Bane's a fun study. I think I'm going to come in a little bit lower than like consensus has this guy as like a top 3 player in the class, and again, he might be a top 3 player in this class. Um,
Yeah.
I would feel better about picking a player like him in the 19 to 32 range, the 20 to 32 range.
Yeah,
Historically.
but I mean, here's the thing. Like, I feel like that same thing can be said for pretty much every player that's going to go picks 3 through
Yeah.
32 in this class. Is like I would feel better taking them
Yeah,
20 spots
exactly.
lower. So I don't like. I would be interested. Who do you think? I know you might not have a finalized board, but who do you think would be above Bain, non quarterback wise?
Jeremiah Love,
Yeah.
Arvell Reese,
Okay.
probably Jermon McCoy still. Um, we'll see if Caleb Downs keeps playing closer, like some slot man reps. If that keeps happening, maybe he can get up there. Uh, Fano's athletic ceiling, if his play cleans up, I think could get up there as well. Tyson, even maybe Carnell Tate. I think Carnell Tate could get up there too. Um, but that's probably where that. Oh, Peter Woods, obviously there too. But that's probably and then maybe Sonny Styles. But that one's a stretch. That was a
Okay, so
stretch.
I would disagree with Styles. I
Mm-hmm.
would disagree with Woods. I would disagree with Caleb Downs and probably Jeremiah Love. Those would be the four that I would say. I
Interesting.
I would definitely have Ruben Bane ahead of.
Is the love thing a positional value thing?
Yeah, I think it's like my thing is I hate to be the annoying like running backs person, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna like beat that dead horse, but like personally I would not. I think it like it's proving itself out with Ashton Genty, where like they would have been better off upgrading their run blocking probably, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do love Jeremiah Love, like to a team that already has a good offensive line in place.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah Love in the top 10, absolutely. Like to my thing, it's not that running backs don't matter. It's like running backs matter once you have the environment set up for them. Then
Yeah.
go have at it. It's like the Lions. I don't think that them being successful with drafting Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't think that proves that teams with bad rosters should start drafting running backs high.
Right.
But teams that have both franchise tackles, a franchise edge rusher, franchise quarterback, two franchise receivers, good defensive back, like you've got your whole roster in place, and then you drop in a really dynamic running back, then that can absolutely, elevate it. So that's kind of my stance.
I agree with that. From a philosophical standpoint, I agree with that. From a big board standpoint, I don't factor in positional value because I just want to know
Okay.
who are the blue chip players. Again, to me, that's the difference between a big board and writing a mock draft. Like my big board can say I think that Jeremiah Love is the second best player in this class, but I'm not going to mock him second overall. I might not mock him top 10. So like that's kind of where that differentiates for me.
My
Again, in
big
this class,
board.
uh-huh.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. No, go
I was
ahead.
going to say I think it's funny that in this class the top two players in this class might be a linebacker and a running back. By the way, that's
Right.
I think that's pretty funny too.
Depending on what position Arvell Reese is.
Yeah, I think I still want him at off ball and
I
letting him
do.
kind of
Yeah.
move all over the place. But
But I was gonna say my big board is basically like if you were doing an expansion draft
yeah,
and you had a blank team, this is the order of players that I would take. So it's
yeah,
gonna naturally factor in positional value, but I don't apply like a tax or anything.
yeah, that
But
makes sense
yeah,
to me.
we can get back on track talking about the position that
Yes,
we intended to with this episode. So anything else to add on Ruben Bane?
I don't think so. Let's rattle this off in the consensus like summer rankings here, and let's move to Keldric Faulk next.
Okay.
Faulk or Parker are like we're kind of
Yeah,
one and
let's
two
go
ish.
Faulk.
Yeah, let's go Faulk first. So I was lower on Keldric Faulk coming into the season, and I
Me
left
too.
watching his tape still kind of lower on Keldric
Yeah.
Faulk because I see the positional value and I see the stoutness against the run. Like that was very evident to me over the summer. Um, the positional like versatility, I said value, positional versatility, where he was playing one tech, he was playing three tech, he was playing 4i, 5, 7. Like he was all over the place for Auburn last year. They have pared that down quite a bit to where I think I've seen him play 4i a little bit, but outside of that, he's playing 5 and wider for the most part. Um, and I still see the chops as a run defender. My biggest issue is I thought his hands were not refined at all coming into the season. I still don't feel great about them. And then I think his pad level is a little high, which I think is a larger symptom of some evident stiffness in his lower half. I've seen him turn a couple corners on this tape, so I think there is the ability to play outside of his frame. But I will say the corners that he's turning are at like 7 yards at depth in the pocket
Right.
and not fairly tight. And what I will say is I saw some tackles not really struggling to run the arc with him when he is trying to take outside shoulder. That terrifies me a little bit. And then there was a rep in the Georgia game where Gunnar Stockton was like he had Gunnar Stockton dead to rights, and all Gunnar Stockton did was like run left a little bit, and it took Keldric Faulk quite a while to change directions and try to get back into position to make a play on him. So like I think there's quite a bit of stiffness in those hips that's impacting both his pad level and his ability to be a more nuanced pass rusher than he currently is right now.
What do you think he weighs? Because he's listed at 285.
He's dense. It's I think it's pretty evened out there his frame because he's tall too. I wouldn't put him below 278. I don't think.
Yeah, I think it probably maybe is that he plays high because
Very high.
I think that impacts his ability to generate power as a pass rusher,
Mhm.
but it also gets him put on the ground a lot in the run game, a lot more than he was last year, I thought.
Mhm.
Um, Overall, still like a net positive run defender. I mean, the Missouri game, they could not keep him out of the backfield.
Mhm.
And like by and large, he's a very consistent run defender. But I think there have to me that it made me think that potentially he had slimmed down a little bit to try to do more as a pass rusher. And I think there has been growth as far as being able to win the outside track and actually like having some sort of pass rush plan, which is why I don't really view it as like him stagnating even though I don't think he's all the way there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he has arrived or like solidified himself as a top 5 pick necessarily, like what the 90th percentile outcome would have been from back in the summer. But I see him work the double swipe, ghost move a lot. Like he is at least, trying some stuff with his hands to win the outside track that I didn't really see him do last year. um I get a lot of Michael Williams flashbacks because they both have these prototypical builds, but they're so high when they use a bull rush, as far as their pad level, and so it makes them. It's like, Michael Williams was talked about like this elite power rusher, and it's like, yeah, theoretically,
Yeah.
but if he ever starts, playing low and driving his legs, which is what I think about Keldric Faulk. So yeah, I've got a, let's see, early second round grade on Keldric Faulk. Top 10 grade on Ruben Bane, by the way, and he is my second ranked player overall. And then Keldric Faulk is gonna be, let me actually update, 16th overall for me, and early second round grade.
That feels right to me. I'd probably come in maybe mid to low second grade, but again, mid to low second grade in this class is still, again, probably a top 16 player in the class, as you're saying as well. For me, I will say as well, I don't think his hips are necessarily super stiff because I have seen him reduce surface area and knife through gaps as a run defender, or in doing so winning inside track as a
Mm-hmm.
pass rusher as well. I question the amount of flexibility in his knees and ankles, and again, the knee bend to play with a decent pad level or to generate any leverage, and then ankles the ability to play outside of his frame and kind of take those tighter corners. So I think the hips are okay, but the knees and ankles is where I'm like, ooh. And again, it sounds nitpicky to like maybe like a layman listener. So but like that stuff matters in the ability to take those tighter corners or play outside of your frame and generate some of those pockets to find to take tighter corners. So like
He's definitely more flexible than Michael Williams.
yes.
Um, so like the comp ends at a lot of places.
Mhm.
So I will say that.
Yep. To me, and again, I missed on Gregory Rousseau because I think I see a lot of this. This screams like 2021 Gregory Rousseau to me, the 2022
Yeah.
2021 class, where I was lower on Gregory Rousseau, and I guess the NFL was too because he went in the back end of the first when he was talked about as a top 5 player coming into the season. But Gregory Rousseau then was again super young and then continued to develop. So I don't want to shortcome the continued development of Keldric because he's 19. He might be 20 now. He was 19 coming into the season. So like I'm not going to shortchange that development either. And we'll
And
see how he tests. But
and
yeah.
you've mentioned, I remember specifically with Michael Williams about like how rarely he won the outside track in
Mm-hmm.
college. Keldric Falks wins. It's actually a dead even split. 41.7% power, 41.7% speed, 16.7% inside. So like he has shown the ability to do it, but like you said, a lot of times it is 7 yard pockets. Quarterback taking a deeper drop than he should. Certain factors that can play into that, and it's not Kashious Howell like just shaving the edge.
Right. Right. Let's move to Hal. You brought him up. I was going to go to Parker next, but you brought up Hal, so that seems like a good segue. I'm getting more bullish every time I watch him. Like I want to be hesitant because he's such an extreme outlier, and I probably will have to be hesitant because he's an extreme outlier. Again, the 30-inch arms is
Yeah.
terrifying, terrifying. But like he plays physical within his frame, and then again, he's the most explosive and the most flexible. Well, actually, David Bailey might be more flexible and explosive, but like he's explosive and flexible. Like okay, Bailey's probably more explosive. Howell takes tighter corners for sure. Um, and then like I don't see him being a net negative in the run game, and that's huge for a guy. And I think it helps that he's rocked up to probably around 250. Like he was probably playing at 220 at Bowling Green when he was playing at Bowling Green 2 years ago. He's probably 220 pounds.
Man, I love Cassius Howell, and I'm I'm right there with you where like I'm getting more bullish on him every time I watch him. I was initially kind of siding with the woke arm length cares, but I don't know. I think that what he gives you as a pass rusher, like I think he has the best bend in this class. I would put him.
Mhm.
I mean, we'll get into Bailey, but I feel like Bailey is a lot more explosive than he is
Mhm.
bendy. Um, I think Kashious Howell does an outstanding job of stringing his moves together, setting them up to make uh, multiple different moves all look like the same thing initially and have kind of branches that go off of sort of a base like primary move and uses like I think I talked about this in a previous episode, but he uses like elements of the ghost move to set up not just like a speed rip, but to set up his bull rush sometimes. I want to see him do that more. His win rate, only 11.7% of his wins over the last 2 years have been with power. When he does win with it, it looks great, but would like to see him go to that more often. I doubt he will though, because he can just grease the edge so quickly. I
Yeah.
mean, like the wins, I don't, I'd be interested to see what they were timed at, but like his wins against his 2 sacks against LSU, like if you blink you got to rewind to
Yeah.
watch them. So yeah, Cassius Howell is awesome. I'm still like early second with him is where I'm going to take him in this class. So if people are thinking first round with him, he would probably not be in my range, but I would watch him, from afar.
Yeah. He's got like, again, this is just to talk about the freakness of Miles Garrett for a little bit, but like the inverse bend of his hips. You know how like how Miles Garrett can like kind of bend like the opposite direction
Mm-hmm.
to take tight corners. Hal's got that same kind of
And been through
ability.
contact.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All right, let's talk about TJ Parker, man. Oh,
Get ready to learn day 3.
I,
Get ready to learn
he,
2027,
yeah, I think he's got to go back to
probably.
school. We'll see how many Clemson guys stay at the school to go back to school.
I mean, number one transfer. This transfer portal class could be stacked. Like
Dude, think about.
historically, think about Lenore Sellers and TJ Parker in the transfer portal.
I was also thinking about another South Carolina sophomore who is going to be a top 5 pick
Oh
next
my
year.
god. I mean,
Like
like,
Dylan Stewart could bolt out of there.
yeah, no, this could be crazy.
It's going to be wild. Um,
And as much as I hate what college football has become, I have started to really
it's
enjoy
fun.
the transfer portal.
It's fun. Um, but dude, I will say for TJ Parker, the one positive that I have on him is that like he's got really heavy hands. He'll pop you in
Yeah,
the chest and he can set a really strong edge with leverage. What do you do with a defensive end who on tape this season has shown that he can set an edge, which every NFL defensive end can do? Like
right.
what do you do with that? Again, he's not winning power through the chest. He doesn't even look all that explosive coming off the ball. He looks hella stiff. And then all he's kind of trying to do is to win with a long arm, but he's not generating any speed to power. I I don't know. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, his
Oh, you froze up. Oh, 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 oh.
am I good?
No, you're good now. Yeah, just take it from where I said I don't know what to do with him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this year he has, or over the last 2 years, he has 13 wins with a long arm and doesn't have more than 5 with any other move. And that doesn't account for all the times that his long arm just goes straight down the middle and fizzles out, which is very often. So yeah, it's a pretty one dimensional power rusher. I think that to me, there are positive examples of him winning the corner, but when you filter out plays that aren't against Pittsburgh's third and fourth string tackles from last year, that sample size shrinks.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's. I think he's got to go back to school and like. To me, I just I don't I think the top 10 hype, it was just kind of misguided from the jump, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we could talk about him going back to school, and he probably should. But from a physical trait standpoint, like, what is there that Parker can improve?
Right.
And
He's
that's where
like,
I'm kind of caught.
to me, I think his I don't want to say best case scenario, but sort of the ideal outcome that you're looking for is that he goes back to school, um, rebuilds his stock, and becomes like somebody that
A
gets
base end.
drafted, like, where Isaiah Foskey got picked or something. But
Yeah.
he would. I'm not making a comp because I did not like Foskey, but I'm just saying in that range, like, early second, um, is where I think like he could get to, because there are times last year where he actually did look explosive. I've never thought he had good bend, but I think the first step has looked like good at times. But to me, this year he looks a lot less athletic, or maybe the motor isn't there. But yeah, I think the upside is probably capped out at like early second.
Mhm. Yeah, it's what's alarming to me is like a guy who's routinely levered out. Like again, I think he levers out really well and he plays with really good leverage, but the lack of movement he can generate when he's routinely levered out, it's like, oh my god, that's where I'm like, okay, we might be a little capped here. Um, Also, I have to say, there's not much that makes me feel much better than when I say something, like I say a take that I say based off of what I see with my eyes, and you're like, "Yeah, the data backs that up." And it's like, "Yes, I did it." It's a good feeling.
Yeah,
It's a
what
good
if I
feeling.
told you that I've been making it up every single time
You
just
know
to
what? I think
flatter
I
you?
would I think I'd be okay with it, and my ego still feels good.
Okay.
Just keep lying to me then. All right, let's move on to Matteo Uiagalelei, who again, I think we both came in relatively low on. You had said in the last episode you're starting to see a little bit of a power profile. I went back and I watched the Penn State game. I didn't watch Rutgers or Wisconsin because what am I going to learn about him playing some traffic cones in those two games? And I still, this is the way I'll say it. Tatum Tuioti is talked about as a day three player, and I see a negligible difference between the impact that those two players have.
Is that 44?
Yes.
To be honest, I thought he was an underclassman because he does make, I think, more plays than Mateo. And I was like, oh, he'll be I literally
I'm
was
pretty sure
thinking
he's a
this
redshirt junior.
today. I was like, oh, he'll be a fun guy for next year. Um, so yeah, maybe I need to start paying more close attention to him. But I agree with that.
Yeah, he's a junior. He's a junior. And so, like, I continue to think that, like, the difference between these two players is just completely negligible, and one gets talked about as like doesn't get talked about, and the other one we talk about as a top 15 player in the class. We've talked about Matteo Uiagalelei being 270 pounds and winning with a finesse profile, and I went back and I watched the Penn State game because that's the most recent game we have against decent tackles. I understand also Drew Shelton is playing some pretty bad football this year, and Nolan Rucci isn't that great of a tackle either, but like
But Nolan Rucci had some good reps against
he
him.
did. He did. I'm still not seeing anything through the chest. And even in the run game, I feel like he's still getting washed a decent amount.
Yeah. So what I'll say is that the wins through the chest came mainly against Rutgers, Wisconsin, had some against Indiana, uh, Khalil Benson, and then some interior guys, but not against the not against the best competition that he's faced.
Yeah, so I'm holding off. I'm like again, this is where I really start to dial back into writing up evals. So you have this board that you adjust weekly, and that's awesome. I have two kids and it's still a 40-hour week job on top of all of this too. So like I can't be watching. So I got to really dial in and focus on these tough, like the bigger matchups. And so I watched the Penn State game. I was like, this is the same player that I like. And so now again, he's also really young, a true junior. Like I don't want to sell his development short because I do see the athleticism. I do see the fluidity when that clear path opens up to the quarterback. I do see a decent amount of like stride speed. I think the get off could get better off the ball still, but like so I do see the traits. I just want the dude who's 270 pounds to play like a dude who's 270 pounds every once in a while.
Yeah, I think for me, like the most impressive thing is still his hand usage and timing, winning
Mm-hmm.
the outside track. Good bend for his size, and I think the ultimately his hands are just a lot, just way heavier this year. It's like it's not that he has become a complete power rusher or anything. It's just that there's signs of life. Like last year, I thought his hands were just dead at the point of
Mm-hmm.
contact. Like there was no knockback pop at all. This year, I at least see that, even if the bull rush stalls out um, too often. I also think the run game awareness and effort has improved, and it still is concerning that at 275 you see him get walked back by like two H backs,
Mm-hmm.
pretty often when he's trying to set the edge. So would like him to be a little bit sturdier there. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, I didn't realize we were not we, but some of us were talking top 15 with Matteo, but I have him 38, which I think is appropriate. I do think that unlike with TJ Parker, I think there is a real like upside shot with
Yeah.
him returning to
Yeah.
school where he has some legit traits.
Yeah. There are definite traits to bet on with Uiagalelei there.
Just to go back though, TJ Parker I have as edge 11, 99th overall with a mid fourth round grade. And then Matteo, I've got a late second on.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, Parker, I don't see a day one trait outside of like the hand punch, like the punch. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, so he can give you bare minimum as a run defender,
You can,
and
but
I think
like you can sign Carl Granderson,
right,
like
who was
or
drafted in the
trade or
seventh
like
round.
trade for
Yeah,
him. Like that kind of player.
right, exactly. They're not hard to find. All right, last edge we got to talk about here is David Bailey, Texas Tech. I'll let you start this one. I feel like I've started on most of them. I'll let you go first here.
Yeah. So David Bailey, I think rivals Abdul Carter in terms of explosiveness, not in terms of
Mhm.
like how good he is as a prospect. But I think the first step and just the arc speed, his ability to continue to build speed as he rounds the corner is truly special. He's got a fleshed out pass rushing plan that has really evolved since I think we talked about him over the summer potentially, but has evolved since last year and the last couple years at Stanford. He was like purely a fastball guy on his Stanford tape. It was primarily speed rushes. You saw some times where the long arm was kind of like disruptive, but never dominant finishes. Didn't really have the drive power to sustain his bull rush. And this year, he has really rounded out his pass rushing plan. I think his power, it's still not like the bulk of what he wins with, but 20% of his wins this year have been with power, which I didn't chart last year, but I watched it. I would estimate that's like way more. And but then on top of that, you see the ghost move, inside spin, cross chop. I mean, lethal with the inside counters, and this is a lot of these are after these are like 3 seconds into the play after he has like knifed and teleported through layers of chip help, and it's like the quarterback's about to get rid of the ball. Okay, now I've got to get a move, and he still like just fluidly gets into a cross chop or whatever, and is I'm shaking the screen, is still able to get a sack. Some impressive stuff on his tape. Like if we wanted to sit here and talk about David Bailey as a pass rusher, I would basically it would just be glowing praise. Outside of the fact that I don't think the bend is exceptional. I think it's probably like above average, I would say. I think the explosiveness is elite. When we get into the run game, it's a completely different
Uh-huh.
conversation. So that really, like, you're great on David Bailey. You don't even have to watch his tape. Like the grade has nothing to do with him as a player. It just speaks to how much you value pass rushing versus like run defense. Like, is there a role on your team for this kind of player who's probably not going to give you anything in run support?
Hmm. But there are a lot of defenses that play a lot of over that would probably really value a guy like that too.
Yeah.
You're spot on with Bailey, and then I would even say like he's just so explosive that it feels like every path to the quarterback is a straight line because he's just beating tackles to the spot routinely.
Yeah.
Um, like even athletic guys like Spencer Fano, like he's smoking even the most
Yeah.
athletic offensive tackle in the class. Um, I do wish his hands were a little heavier. I didn't see a ton of shock value in his hands when I watched the Utah game. Um, the run game stuff is the run game stuff, and you gotta be a little bit neglectful of it. And when you're watching David Bailey in the profile, and just know that again, this isn't probably a 3 down player. The gobs of explosiveness. I thought the ankles were flexible, but again, the hips maybe lagging a little bit behind there. And then you nailed it on the head with the pass rush plan as well. I thought very solid stuff there too. Again, just the versatility of the player. He is what he is, but what he does is very very good. So, um, yeah, I'm right there with you with David Bailey.
Yeah, and I thought like obviously level of competition, but you watch the Kansas game, who they've had decent tackles
Hmm.
recently, and then you watch the Houston game, and that's where you can really see the pop with his hands. He launched Houston's right tackle into orbit on one of these long arm reps. It was insane. And like, even though it's not great competition, you didn't see that kind of stuff last year against similar caliber competition. So that's at least an improvement.
Yeah. All right. Let's rank these guys.
Okay.
Starting at one, we're in agreement with Bane. Who would you put two?
So two for me is going to be Keldric Faulk with an
Okay.
early
I would put
second.
Bailey at two.
But Bailey also has an early second, and Falk and Bailey are 16 and 18 overall for me. So,
Yeah.
and like when you look at the different, it's almost like classifying them as the same position is almost an oversimplification. So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so we have Falk and Bailey switched. Who do you got four?
four for me is Kashious Howell,
Yep.
and then Matteo
Yep.
Uiagalelei,
And then
36 and 38. Uh, didn't mean to do 6 and 8 again. And then I've actually got Joshua Josephs and Anto Saka just outside of my top 50. We didn't talk about them. Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee, Anto Saka out of Northwestern. Um, so yeah, those would be my next two.
yeah. I think we're in lockstep. R. Mason Thomas deserves a shout somewhere too, but again, he falls in the same lines of Cassius Howell with like the uber explosive, uber bendy, but very short arms. And I think there is a lack of play strength from R. Mason Thomas that Howell has to kind of
Yeah.
dig in as a run defender. So, but
And
again, R. Mason Thomas is going to go day two as well. So,
yeah, and I would shout out Zion Young from Missouri, who has traits and has started to produce this year. I think he's a good like starting caliber player,
mhm.
and seems to be like the kind of guy that can be like the lifeblood, like the heartbeat of your locker room. And if you've ever heard him like talk on the field, he's quite the character. So,
Oh, that overtime coin flick is going to go down as an all timer.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I mean, I like him like on the field as a player as well, a decent amount. I was kind of a day two guy. Anthony Smith from Minnesota is sort of a hybrid that I think is late day two, early day three probably.
I think he's probably a day three guy. Yeah.
And did I say Romello Height from Texas Tech?
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's the other guy I would mention.
Romola Height is basically David Bailey light.
Yep. I think Bendier, to me, Height's hands, they're like way, they're less controlled than Bailey's, but there are times where his hands are just so violent.
Mhm.
And I mean, it a lot of times it's a backhanded compliment to say that a guy's really good on stunts, but I don't mean it that way with Romello Height. Like he is, you just want him like going from point A to point B as fast as possible. Whatever he slams into, it's like a cartoon character, like the collision, and then he just slithers through like whatever gap there is to the quarterback. And I mean, he's really explosive. He's got quick hands. He can bend. Like he has very similar things that he brings to the table as David Bailey.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. All right. Well, that was our crash course on this edge class, kind of re going through some of the top guys in the
Should we
class from the
go?
summer.
We got, I think, one more that we need to mention,
Okay, go
actually.
for it.
Or actually, let me say this, two more that we should briefly discuss. LT Overton out of
Oh yeah.
Alabama and denied Dennis Sutton from Penn State. We don't need to go in depth on them, but these are day 3 prospects currently, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
And LT Overton can go back to school, correct?
Yes.
Denied Dennis Sutton can't.
Correct.
It's
I think
it is so hard to track eligibility for these guys. Yeah, I mean, denied Dennis Sutton has 4 years that he's played, so I assume that he's out of eligibility. But
he is. Yeah, he's a senior. Yeah. And
but
appeared
yeah,
in 13
mean,
games as a true freshman. Yep. So
I have day 3 grades on all those guys right now. Like denied Dennis Sutton at least shows flashes. He is just really stiff and still is not a complete player. Has never really taken the step that I at one point thought he might. LT Overton just doesn't win as
flat
a
out
pass rusher.
And he has no explosiveness.
I wanted to go chart his wins. Couldn't find any. So I mean, he tries power mainly, but yeah, I keep going to the games because I want to get a big enough sample so that it isn't just like 1 or 2 plays skewing the average, but he doesn't win enough for me to fill in enough data. So,
all right, yeah, man, with Overton, I don't get it. I think he's a little more flexible than he should be at his size, but even his size was exaggerated because he came in like well under his listing height and weight. And he's listed like 6'5", 280, I think. And his verifieds were 6'2", 274 pounds with 33.5-inch arms.
yeah.
So
yeah.
Alabama listed him at 3 inches taller than he actually is.
Yeah, better length and better flexibility than you would expect for his height, but yeah, just not really explosive movement skills to get the corner.
Nope. Nope. I agree with that. So a player I don't know what to do with, and then I've never been super high on Dennis Sutton. He looks like $1 million, first team off the bus kind of guy, but yeah, right there with you. But I think that's going to be it for our little crash course here on this edge class refresh. We'll be back breaking down the slate tomorrow, but until next time, this has been another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. See ya.